We will discuss an important topic in sport ethics, the ethics of drug use and testing in sport. Sport is built on values such as fairness, integrity, respect, and equal opportunity. However, the use of performance enhancing drugs challenges these values and raises significant ethical concerns. Athletes may feel pressure to use banned substances to improve performance, recover faster, or gain a competitive advantage. While these drugs may enhance athletic performance, they can undermine fair competition and pose serious health risks. At the same time, drug testing programs are designed to protect the integrity of sport and ensure a level playing field. However, testing also raises ethical questions related to privacy, athletes' rights, and the fairness of testing procedures. Throughout this lecture, we will examine the ethical issues surrounding drug use and testing in sport, explore arguments for and against current anti-doping policies, and discuss how sport organizations attempt to balance fair competition, athlete welfare, and individual rights. To better understand the ethical issues surrounding drug use in sport, it is important to first examine its historical background. The use of performance enhancing substances in sports is not a new phenomenon. In fact, athletes have sought ways to improve performance for centuries. The desire to gain a competitive advantage has made performance enhancing drug use widespread throughout the history of sport. The use of performance enhancing drugs, or PEDs, has a particularly long history in the Olympic Games. Historical records suggest that even athletes in the ancient Olympics experimented with various substances and special diets in hopes of improving strength and endurance. For example, some Olympians reportedly consumed specially prepared lizard meat because they believed it would enhance their athletic abilities. As organized sport became more competitive, the use of substances continued. A famous example occurred during the 1904 Olympic marathon, when American runner Thomas Hicks used strychnine and brandy during the race to enhance his performance. At that time, there were few regulations governing substance use in sport. Parents play an important role in youth and high school sports, but they also have many concerns about the current state of athletics. One of the biggest concerns is the overemphasis on winning, which accounts for 16% of parental concerns. Many parents worry that coaches and schools focus too much on winning games rather than promoting personal growth, enjoyment, and skill development. Another major concern is the cost of participation. Expenses related to equipment, travel, uniforms, and participation fees can make sports inaccessible for some families. Parents are also concerned about the lack of facilities and resources, which may limit opportunities for student athletes. Issues related to behavior and ethics are also significant. Concerns such as violence, drug use, and unfair play raise questions about the values being taught through sport. Parents want athletic programs to promote sportsmanship, integrity, and respect rather than unethical behavior. Interestingly, parents express concerns about both too much parental involvement and too little involvement. Excessive involvement can place unnecessary pressure on athletes and create conflicts with coaches, while insufficient involvement may reduce support for student athletes. Finally, concerns about funding, coaching quality, and leadership highlight the importance of effective management in school athletic programs. Ethical coaches and administrators are essential for creating a positive and supportive sport environment. From a sport ethics perspective, these concerns remind us that high school athletics should prioritize educational values, athlete well being, character development, and fair competition rather than focusing solely on winning. One of the most significant ethical issues in modern sport is the use of performance enhancing drugs, commonly known as PEDs. PEDs are substances used to improve some aspect of athletic performance. Athletes may use these substances to increase strength, recover more quickly, reduce fatigue, or enhance focus and concentration. While some athletes believe PEDs provide a competitive advantage, their use raises serious ethical and health concerns. There are several common types of PEDs. First, anabolic steroids are used to increase muscle mass and strength. These substances can help athletes train harder and recover faster, but they may also cause serious health problems, including heart disease, liver damage, and hormonal imbalances. Second, human growth hormone, or HGH, is used to promote muscle growth and speed recovery from injuries. Although HGH may improve performance, excessive use can lead to joint problems, organ enlargement, and other long term health risks. Third, analgesic painkillers are often used to reduce pain, allowing athletes to continue competing despite injuries. While pain management can be important, over reliance on painkillers may mask injuries and lead athletes to worsen their physical condition. Finally, stimulants are substances that increase alertness, energy, and focus. Although stimulants may temporarily improve performance, they can also cause serious side effects such as increased heart rate, anxiety, and even cardiovascular complications. From an ethical perspective, the use of PEDs raises important questions about fairness, athlete safety, and the integrity of sport. Sport organizations generally prohibit these substances because they undermine fair competition and may place athletes' health at significant risk. Let's now consider some of the major issues related to the use of performance enhancing drugs in sport. First, PEDs pose significant health risks, including heart problems, liver damage, and hormonal imbalances. Second, PED use creates an unfair advantage, violating the principles of fair play and compromising the integrity of sport. Another concern is the effectiveness of drug testing. Despite strict testing policies, some athletes still find ways to avoid detection. There is also a continuing debate about legalization. While some argue that PEDs should be permitted under medical supervision, others believe doing so would increase health risks and damage the spirit of sport. In addition, athletes caught doping often face negative fan reactions, which can harm their reputations and careers. Finally, because athletes serve as role models, their actions influence young people and society. Therefore, PED use is not only a sport issue but also an ethical and social concern. Overall, the use of PEDs raises important questions about health, fairness, and the values that sport should promote. Why do athletes choose to use performance enhancing drugs? There are several reasons. Some athletes use PEDs to recover from injuries more quickly or to mask pain. Others may feel pressure to meet the expectations of coaches, teammates, fans, or family members. The desire to win at all costs is another major factor. Since success in sport often brings financial rewards, sponsorships, and public recognition, some athletes may be tempted to seek an unfair advantage. In addition, athletes may believe that their natural ability is not sufficient to compete at the highest level. Others may be influenced by teammates or competitors who are already using banned substances. Finally, because athletic careers are often short, some athletes may decide that the benefits of winning outweigh ethical concerns. From an ethical perspective, these pressures do not justify doping, but understanding these motivations can help sport organizations develop more effective education and prevention programs. Let's summarize some of the key reasons why athletes choose to use performance enhancing drugs. First, many athletes use PEDs for physical recovery and pain management, especially when trying to recover quickly from injuries. Second, some athletes have a strong desire to win at all costs. The pressure to succeed can lead them to make unethical decisions. Financial incentives also play an important role. Winning often brings prize money, scholarships, sponsorships, and professional opportunities. Because athletic careers are often short, athletes may use PEDs to maximize their success during a limited period of competition. In addition, athletes are influenced by the expectations of coaches, teammates, parents, and fans. Social pressure can sometimes encourage unethical behavior. Many athletes also seek public recognition and fame, believing that success will increase their popularity and status. Some athletes feel that their natural abilities are not enough to compete at elite levels, leading them to seek artificial advantages. Finally, athletes may believe that better performance leads to better opportunities, such as endorsements, contracts, and career advancement. Understanding these motivations is important because it helps sport organizations develop effective education, prevention, and ethical decision making programs. Why do some elite athletes choose to use illegal performance enhancing drugs? Two major factors are pressure to succeed and political pressure. First, elite athletes often experience tremendous pressure to succeed. They face expectations from coaches, teammates, family members, sponsors, fans, and even themselves. The constant demand to win can create stress and lead some athletes to make poor ethical decisions, including the use of banned substances. Second, political pressures can also influence athletes. Success in international competitions often brings national pride and prestige. In some cases, governments or political leaders may place significant pressure on athletes to achieve success, creating a win at all costs mentality. From an ethical perspective, these pressures do not justify doping. Instead, they highlight the importance of creating sport environments that emphasize fair play, athlete well being, and ethical decision making rather than simply winning. Another important reason why elite athletes may use illegal performance enhancing drugs is the pursuit of rewards. In modern sport, success often brings significant benefits. Winning can lead to greater fame, increased appearance fees, endorsement contracts, and lucrative sponsorship opportunities. As a result, athletes may feel strong pressure to maintain high levels of performance. In addition, prize money and public recognition can motivate some athletes to seek an unfair advantage through the use of banned substances. The greater the rewards, the greater the temptation to cheat. From an ethical perspective, this raises an important question. Should winning and financial success be valued more than fairness and integrity? Sport ethics suggests that true athletic achievement should be based on talent, hard work, and fair competition rather than the use of illegal substances. Another reason elite athletes may use illegal drugs is to keep up with their competitors. In some sports, doping has become so widespread that athletes may believe they must use banned substances simply to remain competitive. Some athletes adopt the mindset that if everyone else is doing it, I need to do it too. In addition, it can be difficult for anti doping agencies to detect new substances and methods. As a result, some athletes may come to believe that doping is a normal part of elite sport. Professional cycling provides a well known example. Over the years, events such as the Tour de France have experienced numerous doping scandals, creating a culture in which some athletes felt pressured to dope in order to compete at the highest level. From an ethical perspective, however, the behavior of others does not justify cheating. Fair play requires athletes to compete honestly, regardless of the actions of their competitors. One of the most famous doping cases in sport history involves Lance Armstrong, a former professional cyclist and 7 time Tour de France champion. Investigations revealed that Armstrong used several performance enhancing substances, including testosterone, human growth hormone, and other banned drugs to improve performance. As a result, Armstrong faced severe consequences. He was stripped of all 7 of his Tour de France titles and lost many endorsements and sponsorship agreements. His reputation and legacy were significantly damaged. The Lance Armstrong case demonstrates that while doping may provide short term success, it can ultimately lead to long term personal and professional consequences. This case also highlights the growing pressure on sport organizations to maintain a clean image and protect the integrity of competition. From an ethical perspective, the Armstrong scandal reminds us that honesty, fairness, and integrity are essential values in sport. One of the most controversial periods in professional sports was Major League Baseball's steroid era. Following the 1994 players' strike and the cancellation of the World Series, Major League Baseball experienced declining fan interest. As home run numbers increased, attendance and television ratings also increased, leading some critics to argue that MLB ignored the growing steroid problem. The 1998 home run race between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa captured national attention and helped revive interest in baseball. Later, Barry Bonds broke the single season home run record with 73 home runs in 2001. However, many of these achievements were later questioned because of allegations of performance enhancing drug use. The publication of Game of Shadows in 2006 exposed the Balco scandal, which involved the distribution of banned substances to elite athletes, including Barry Bonds. The scandal eventually led to the creation of the Mitchell Report, an investigation into steroid use in Major League Baseball. From an ethical perspective, the steroid era raises important questions about fairness, integrity, and the responsibility of sport organizations. It also demonstrates how commercial interests and the desire for entertainment can sometimes conflict with ethical standards in sport. To address growing concerns about steroid use in Major League Baseball, Commissioner Bud Selig commissioned an independent investigation known as the Mitchell Report. Former U.S. Senator George Mitchell was asked to investigate allegations of performance enhancing drug use, including claims raised in Game of Shadows. However, the investigation faced challenges because the players' union was largely uncooperative, and only a small number of players agreed to participate. The report's findings revealed that the use of performance enhancing drugs had been widespread in Major League Baseball for nearly 2 decades, although it appeared to decline after 2002 as testing policies became stricter. Importantly, the report suggested that players from all 30 MLB teams had been connected to performance enhancing drug use. Several high profile players, including Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, and Andy Pettitte, were mentioned in the report. From an ethical perspective, the Mitchell Report highlighted the widespread nature of doping in professional baseball and emphasized the need for stronger policies, education, and accountability to preserve the integrity of sport. Today's athletes face increasing pressure to perform at the highest level. As competition becomes more intense, many athletes are confronted with a difficult ethical choice. On one hand, they may choose to use performance enhancing drugs to improve their performance and remain competitive. On the other hand, athletes who choose to compete without PEDs may feel that they are at a disadvantage, especially if they believe that some competitors are using banned substances. This situation creates significant ethical challenges. Athletes must decide whether to prioritize winning or remain committed to the principles of fair play and integrity. From a sport ethics perspective, the pressure to succeed should never justify cheating. Instead, sport organizations must create environments that support ethical behavior and ensure fair competition for all athletes. Doping has serious consequences, and athletes should understand that its effects go far beyond sport performance. First, doping is considered a form of cheating because it gives athletes an unfair advantage over their competitors. As a result, it undermines the integrity and fairness of sport. Second, doping can lead to severe health consequences. The use of performance enhancing drugs may cause long term damage to major organs, hormonal disorders, psychological problems, and in extreme cases, even death. In addition to health risks, athletes caught doping may face significant social consequences, including suspensions, loss of medals, damaged reputations, and loss of sponsorship opportunities. From a sport ethics perspective, doping not only harms individual athletes, but also damages public trust in sport. Therefore, maintaining fairness, honesty, and athlete well being should remain central values in all sporting competitions. Elite sport has traditionally been viewed as a fair contest in which athletes compete based on talent, training, and hard work. Fans expect to see athletes perform at the highest level while following the same rules. However, doping challenges this fundamental principle. When athletes use banned substances, they gain an unfair advantage and undermine the integrity and credibility of sport. In addition, society generally does not accept or condone doping in sport. Such behavior violates important social values, including honesty, fairness, and respect for rules. From an ethical perspective, doping is not simply a personal decision. It affects competitors, fans, sport organizations, and society as a whole. Therefore, athletes must recognize that maintaining integrity is essential to preserving the true spirit of sport. To combat doping in sport, various organizations have developed strategies to promote fair competition and protect athlete health. One of the most important organizations is the World Anti Doping Agency, or WADA, which was established in 1999. WADA created the World Anti Doping Code, a set of international rules designed to standardize anti doping policies across sports and countries. WADA is an independent organization responsible for coordinating drug testing, anti doping programs, education, and research. It also accredits laboratories around the world to ensure accurate and reliable testing procedures. In addition, WADA regularly updates its list of prohibited substances and methods as new performance enhancing drugs continue to emerge. From a sport ethics perspective, organizations such as WADA play a critical role in preserving the integrity of sport by promoting fairness, protecting athlete health, and ensuring that competition remains clean and ethical. Another important strategy for reducing drug use in sport is regular and random drug testing. Testing athletes both during competitions and outside of competition helps deter cheating and increases the likelihood that athletes who use banned substances will be detected. Random testing is particularly important because it prevents athletes from predicting when they will be tested. In addition, continued scientific research is essential in the fight against doping. As new performance enhancing substances are developed, anti doping agencies must improve testing methods to detect previously undetectable drugs. Research also helps identify and disrupt the laboratories and networks that manufacture and distribute illegal substances to athletes. From a sport ethics perspective, effective testing and ongoing research are necessary to protect athlete health, maintain fair competition, and preserve the integrity of sport. Education is another essential strategy in the fight against doping in sport. Educating coaches, athletes, and support staff helps raise awareness about the health risks, ethical issues, and consequences associated with doping. When athletes understand the dangers of banned substances, they are more likely to make ethical decisions. In addition, sport governing bodies should implement comprehensive anti doping education programs. Many organizations visit schools, training centers, and sport academies to educate young athletes before they reach elite levels of competition. Role models can also be powerful educational tools. Positive role models demonstrate the importance of hard work, integrity, and fair play, while negative examples of athletes caught doping can illustrate the serious consequences of unethical behavior. From a sport ethics perspective, education is one of the most effective long term strategies for promoting clean sport and preserving the integrity of athletic competition. Another important strategy in the fight against doping is the implementation of stricter penalties. To discourage athletes from using banned substances, organizations such as WADA have increased sanctions for doping violations. Since 2015, athletes found guilty of serious doping offenses can face suspensions of up to 4 years, and repeat offenders may receive a lifetime ban from competition. In addition, athletes who are later found to have violated anti doping rules may lose medals, titles, and records, even years after the competition. This demonstrates that cheating can have long term consequences. Anti doping policies have also expanded responsibility beyond athletes. Coaches, trainers, and support personnel who encourage or assist doping may also face sanctions and suspensions. From a sport ethics perspective, strict penalties are designed not only to punish offenders, but also to deter future doping and protect the integrity and fairness of sport. As we conclude today's discussion, it is important to recognize that the use of performance enhancing drugs is not accidental. In most cases, doping is a deliberate decision made to gain an unfair advantage over competitors. There are several important reasons why performance enhancing drugs should remain banned in sport. First, athletes have a responsibility to show respect for the rules of competition. Fair play is one of the fundamental values of sport, and violating these rules undermines the integrity of athletic competition. Second, sport is intended to celebrate and reward natural talent, hard work, dedication, and perseverance. The true spirit of sport lies in developing and perfecting one's abilities through training and effort rather than relying on artificial enhancements. Ultimately, sport ethics teaches us that success should be achieved honestly and fairly. Preserving integrity, protecting athlete health, and maintaining public trust are essential for ensuring that sport continues to serve as a positive force in society. Thank you. And remember, in sport, how you win is just as important as winning itself.